Rebels, welcome to Quit Your Boring Follow-Up, a webinar put on by the Sales Rebellion, sponsored by the one and only and most amazing CRM. Sorry for all of you that are using a different CRM. Pipedrive. Pipedrive has brought you to today's event. We're going to make them sound really cool for a second here, and not just because they brought you to this event, but because we have actually done work with Pipedrive since the very beginning and inception of the Sales Rebellion. And today is fitting to have them as part of this event because of what we're about to teach you. Not just the concept of communicating better with people, but also managing that communication more effectively as well too. Rebels, welcome. It's good to see everybody. Jim, Molly, Phil, Jason, Sam, Adam Peak in the house, John King, Monica, what's up, Mark, Dakota, Shad, my man Shad, good to see you, bro. Hey guys, today is gamified just like every day that we do inside of the Sales Rebellion. So the more you interact, the more points you'll score, and the cooler you'll become. We'll pop the leaderboard up every once in a while on here. Also, my internet sucks right now. Perfect timing, right? Perfect freaking timing. So, and then Beth can't hear anything, but we'll get to that in a little bit. Let's start with introductions. If you don't know who I am, my name is Dale Dupree, formerly known as the Copier Warrior, or to my friends, still known as the Copier Warrior, leader of the Rebellion. I am the founder. I started this company in 2019. We are bringing hope back to sales. We are changing the game by allowing creativity to come into play for AEs, BDRs, customer experience folks, the works. We take a completely different approach and narrative to the identity of what sales is. We believe that we're building legacies, that we are changing the way that people operate inside of their businesses, which is subsequently changing their lives as well too. I'm excited to be able to host the session today and to bring you some really cool concepts and ideas around following up with people. One of the most basic functions of sales, yet one of the single most important. Jeremiah Griffin, if you want to come off mute and introduce yourself to everybody, tell the people who you are, give them a little information about you.
I thought you were going to do the introduction. That's what you said. It was going to be like some awesome introduction. So now I don't even know what to say.
The internet's bad. The internet's bad. Okay, just do your thing.
Putting me on the spot now. So yeah, Jeremiah Griffin. So Ginger Viking of the Sales Rebellion, and I do lots of things. So I don't really have a title. That's the best title I can think of. I'm down south in Augusta, Georgia. I see there's quite a few people down in the southeast along with me. So excited for all of you and everybody else that's here from across the pond and all the other stuff. But yeah, so I originally started as a Rebel student. So I was one of Dale's first students and probably the best. I don't know. There's been a couple others that can probably take that title from me. Probably plenty of people. But I started as a Rebel student, had a ton of success with, of course, the outbound campaigns and kind of honed the follow-up over the years to be my own very audacious, very borderline offensive sometimes maybe, but just like, hey, let's tiptoe the line and see like what people actually find offensive, you know, what they laugh at and what they're like, dude, that's like, that's over the line. So, you know, I've gone over sometimes, but most of the time I'm towing the line. So it's just audacious enough. So I'm looking forward to sharing some actual examples with you guys today of follow-up. So let's get into it. Well, unless we need to introduce anybody else, like the illustrious Beth Pagano.
We do. We have to introduce her. As all of you can see, Beth prefers to be on mute and off camera as much as possible. Although I think she's having technical difficulties right now, which is totally cool. Beth Pagano. Beth is one of the assistant coaches and also in charge of the customer experience inside of the Rebellion. We don't call them customers. We call them rebels. Beth calls them nuggets. She is the sole holder of the Rebel Snuggle and the Rebel Hug. So if you need help, you need support, Beth is your girl. She has access to everything that Jeremiah and I have created as well too, and we don't even know where it is, you know. So Beth has it all. So if you want like courses or access to coaching, you just go find Beth. She'll take care of all those things.
Nuggets in a
we had some really funny stuff planned.
Well, I was gonna say nuggets in a snuggle. Does she call them snuggets, or like does she ever do any of the combining of words or anything like that?
I'm not putting words in her mouth. She's not here to like stick up for herself, but I'm pretty sure that like everybody in here that knows Beth inside of the free Slack community knows that she uses the word nugget more times than I can count and loves to talk about our Slack snuggle, as she has coined it, which is fantastic. Beth will hopefully not be off camera the entire time because we had some really funny stuff planned. If not, whatever, we'll pivot. That's what we do, right? That's how we roll. So speaking of the Slack community, if anybody is not part of the Slack community right now, I have just dropped a link to get into the Slack community into the chat. Please, I've pinned it as well too for all of you. Please feel free to click that link and jump into our free Slack community, or as Beth would call it, our Slack snuggle, our Rebel Slack snuggie, something like that. Look, Molly and Jim both had like the same idea with pivoting, by the way, and are dropping friends gifts. It's good times. By the way, I think I already popped the leaderboard once, but just so that you guys could all be jealous of the person who's winning, I'll smack it again. Looks like we got Molly, Dakota, and Sam in here raising havoc 1 second at a time. Let's go. By the way, also awesome to see so many people logging in from so many different states, cities. It's freaking fantastic. We love having all of you here. We like how busy it is in here. This is good stuff. So, ladies and gentlemen, you did not come here to listen to us talk about ourselves. Well, I mean, maybe you did. I mean, I did. That's for sure. But let's transition into some teaching real quick and have some fun, if you will. Please stay very active in the chat, if you will. If you hear anything that you'd like to stop us on, ask us questions. This is live, ladies and gentlemen. This is not pre-recorded. I know it feels like it is because it's so perfect, but this is actually live. So please drop questions into the chat. There's also a Q&A section as well too, but if you'd stay out of the Q&A section for right now, we'd highly appreciate it, because in a little bit, we're going to ask you to jump in there to come on stage. So keep that in the back of your mind and be prepared if you want to come and ask us questions live on AirMe today. So let's transition. Let's talk about the principles of attention. Today is all about how we follow up with people. First and foremost, everybody needs to understand in here right now that if, depending on what situation that you're in, I should say, as a salesperson, you are most likely communicating with a total and complete stranger. Even if you think that you have like some rapport with them or a little bit of a relationship, if you will, they are still a stranger in most cases, especially if you were to compare it to people in your everyday average life, people you work with, people that you see at the grocery store, if you actually do that and don't just order yours all through Uber, people that are in your close-knit friend circles, people that are friends of friends. Like, if you compare a prospect to most people that you know on this earth, they're most likely the strangest of strangers there is. And because of that, one of the most important things that we have to understand as salespeople is that first and foremost, like no strange person in this world that knows nothing about you owes you anything. Not that anybody owes you anything, but no stranger absolutely owes you anything. It's a principle that we teach. It is up to us in order to be able to capture the attention of these individuals, stir curiosity, create emotional context, which we'll talk about in a second, and to be able to keep the conversations lively, interactive, and ultimately desirable by the other party. Because of that, we need to first and foremost talk about the dreaded just checking in email, the dreaded bump email, the dreaded whatever the heck you're sending right now, potentially email. And we're sorry that you are, but we still respect you and we love you. And we're glad that you're here as well too. I think we've all sent a just checking in email at some point. Jeremiah, have you ever sent a just checking in email? Like, could you admit to that? Is that something you've ever done, or are you too good for that?
Definitely too good for it now, but pre-rebellion, I probably sent one or two.
So. Yeah, I feel like my first, as I was going back and thinking deeply about the first time that I ever got like a response from just checking in, the person straight up told me that they didn't need to be reminded. like hit me pretty hard. Like, I don't need to be reminded. You don't need to check in. I don't need to be reminded. I'll get this done. Was kind of the response. I feel like a lot of us have probably experienced that as well too. But in most cases, what we do experience, the majority of us experience, is silence because we don't have the right amount of attention from these strange people. We teach inside of the Rebellion a principle, a principled approach around a concept called reason, to radically educate and share one's narrative. So the A inside of reason, the acronym, is attention. I'm going to go over a little bit of that teaching real quick as we get into the meat and potatoes and start to show you some example follow-up concepts and some of the things that we do to keep you from saying bump in your emails. So let's think about this real quick when it comes to attention. Attention is something, it's very debatable. It's like, what kind of attention are you getting? Is it quality attention? Is it just because you caught somebody in a weak moment, right? There's varying levels and degrees of attention. So we have to also understand that just because somebody is responding to communication that we're following up with them on in the first place doesn't mean that they're actually paying attention to us in the way that we would desire them to be paying attention. So they could exist in the ecosystem that we're building here, but they might not be a living thing yet, is the thought process, to kind of make it easy for you to comprehend and understand. So the first thing that we teach in the Rebellion around this concept, and ultimately where we're leading to, is the identity of what it means to interrupt the typical patterns of people. So as an example, if I'm really trying to interrupt the typical patterns of people, I'll do something like write a message on my hat. If Beth wants to lean forward and show us her backwards handwriting here, it says, "No, nope, go away." It's so good.
I have others.
Yeah, they're all good. You should like cycle through them as we go here. Like, I think everybody will appreciate the consistency, even if they can't like read them because they're backwards. I think that actually makes it funnier, and also it causes a lot more curiosity. Like, what does that say? So I don't know. I think you're being as rebellious as possible at this point, right? So interrupting the typical patterns. What are the typical patterns to follow up? So we're going to let a scenario real quick here. We have a meeting that we've just had with a prospect. We already set the appointment through a cold call. Yeah, I'll meet with you. We meet with this person. We run a discovery. We've decided on next steps at the end of it. And most of you will experience at some point in your careers, if you haven't 1,000 times already, that same person stop communicating with you after that last meeting. And a lot of the communication to get things restarted is kind of just like driving back to this same place of like, hey, what are the next steps? Like over and over again, and in a way that is very typical in regards to how we communicate. So as an example, we send somebody the next steps that we agreed on and they don't respond. So we say something like, just making sure you got my email above or below. Okay. And then behind that, we put something like, hey, did you have any thoughts? And these are the typical patterns that people are used to. So the best way to get people's attention is to break away from the typical patterns and wear hats and sunglasses like Beth is wearing right now, because that'll definitely get people to stop ghosting you in the first place. So to not be boring is the thought process here. People are sure, like, business is business, as some of y'all would say, but we believe that business is a part of life. Like, if I want to provide for myself in my working life, in my regular life, I need to understand that business plays a very intricate part of that. And sure, if I show up being business professional or whatever every single day, I'm still a human at the end of when all is said and done. So if I, as a human, have a better experience and communicated differently, if I break the typical patterns, everything changes. Lee, we give out Beth for sales calls. She's leased technically because of legalities and things of that nature. Like, we can't sell humans, Lee, unfortunately, but you can spend about $40,000 for about 4 minutes to have her on screen, just like this. And she takes that in cash, or she takes it in like gift cards for Grubhub. Yeah.
Grubhub. I'm already back.
So So interrupting typical patterns, ladies and gentlemen, this is an extremely important piece. Now, here's the thing is that a lot of y'all probably have heard of a pattern interrupt, but at the Rebellion, we live a lifestyle of consistently interrupting the typical patterns that at every facet we say to ourselves, is this rebellious? Is this going to actually get the kind of attention that we desire and need in the first place? Is this actually breaking the typical patterns, or am I falling into the trap of just interrupting a pattern to interrupt a pattern to begin with? Right? It is now extremely excessive pattern interrupts, right? That concept of them, they're excessive, and like the same ones are used all the time by everybody. You have to be ultimately living this lifestyle of interrupting the typical patterns that people experience on a daily basis and doing it for the right reasons, not just to get your way, but ultimately to give people something that is worth latching onto and sticking around for in the first place. So because of this, we desire to create curiosity instead of just being the same old thing. That's how rebels think and feel and act. So curiosity is a huge piece of the puzzle. And yes, my internet is interrupting typical patterns right now for sure. It's got you all like waiting for me to drop this call, and you're like on the edge of your seat, like, is this going to get awkward? That's going to have to talk. Yeah, it's probably what's going to happen. But furthermore, we're also stirring emotional context this way through creating these pattern interrupts, if you will, or breaking the typical patterns through causing curiosity. We're creating emotional context. I think a lot of us are afraid to offend is the problem. We're afraid to offend. And so we send something like just checking in because it feels neutral. It feels easy. We're afraid to offend. So we say things like, I hope this email finds you well. And that's the problem is that we have to be in this place of understanding that like, as a human, it's okay to be offended. Like, as a matter of fact, what we teach as a principle inside of the Rebellion is you need a relationship, good or bad. If you're indifferent, you're nothing to anybody ever. And that sucks. And even being good or bad, you know, on the spectrum of things, ultimately, but sometimes you'd rather be bad. Trust me, ladies and gentlemen, because sometimes when you're in that position of being a bad moment for somebody, they remember you a lot easier and a lot longer. We'll have some examples of how we have taught sales reps, even some most recent ones in just a few minutes here around that subject itself, so we can give you some actual examples of what happens if we offend somebody and how do we continue to follow up from that as well too, instead of walking away, right? So we got the whole gamut for you today, ladies and gentlemen. But we have to understand that if we're going to be tiptoeing around the subject at hand, then we're not going to get very far with people. So as a great example to this, there's a joke email that you guys, some of you guys and girls have probably seen me post about. It's a subject line where it says, I hope this message blows your ass off your body. And some of y'all will probably even hear me say that now and think, that's crazy. My boss would fire me. No one would open that email. That email has like 1,000% open rate. Like it's higher than 100%. It's almost impossible to achieve the things that email achieves. And yes, Vincent, it's the lactose letter that one follows up on for sure. Hey, Jeremiah, write that down. What a freaking great idea. Like we could send milk and then like talk about farts. And that would make Beth really happy, by the way. She loves farts. It's like the thing, you know. So I mean,
that's the toilet paper letter. It's like it's on the list, I
think. If it's not, we'll get it on there for you guys, right? So again, like being offensive, it's not so much about intentionally offending people. There are definitely crappy emails out there that say things like "you're a sucky leader" in the subject line just to get somebody to open it. That's not the point. The point is to have fun. The point is to push a little bit of the boundary, but ultimately to make sure that you're having a good time and that you're trying to infuse a good time into the other person's experience just the same. Nobody loves an egotistical, narcissistic butthole, right? Nobody. So don't be one. Instead, separate people's asses from their body with your amazing subject lines, and that'll do it for you. So with that said, what we also want you to understand today, that when it comes to follow up and about differentiation, is that we need to also understand that a cycle is happening in the way that we're communicating with people. Most of you guys and girls have a 30, 60, 90, 120 inside of your pipeline, as an example. Well, we've reframed the concept to what we call a living pipeline. It's an ecosystem is the concept. It's living, it's breathing, it is always existing. And the idea is that we're trying to principally meet people where they are in their moments. And also we are trying to understand that a couple of emails isn't going to get you a sale. Great communication, great interactions with people is what's going to ultimately open somebody up to expressing the things that you need to hear in order to build a solution that is valuable enough for somebody to pull the trigger with you. Most of us also we struggle and battle with the identity of our biggest competition, which is the status quo. Keep things the same. If people could just keep things the same, that's what they would do. Bottom line. So the more that we can understand that the concept of a 30, 60, 90, 120 is less of a funnel concept and more of an ecosystem, and build a playbook around that, the better. This is a huge piece of the puzzle where we recommend Pipedrive as well too. We have some incredible rebels. Shout out to Ruben Goldblum, who's probably listening to this right now, who have a great ecosystem of a living pipeline built up inside of their Pipedrive CRM. And basically it is the sequenced portion of what it is that you're doing, where instead of doing things again like 5 days later, sending a just checking in email, instead 5 days later you're giving an experience. And beyond 5 days, for the 30 days, for the 60 days, for the 90 days, for the 120 days, we're putting together again like an ecosystem of creating interrupts to the typical pattern, causing curiosity, not being boring by stirring emotional context, and ultimately towing the line of differentiation in a way that causes somebody to feel right. People will remember the way that you made them feel. They will forget your boring email. It's that simple. So what we do inside of our ecosystem is that we send a lot of direct mail. I'm sorry for all of you that hear that and think, I have 1,000 questions now, because this session is not designed to answer those questions. But we'll try to get to some of them if we can. We like literally every time we mention this, no matter what we're doing, people have questions about, well, what do you mean direct mail? Well, this is what I mean by direct mail. Like, let's just say that we talked about that discovery meeting earlier, where I go through the motions. I show or I listen to my prospects' needs and desires. I set up next steps. And the first thing that I do when I get out of that meeting is I interrupt the typical pattern by sending a handwritten note in the mail. Here's another thing, though, that I want y'all to think about is that, like, what about follow-up that's not boring, that's not sent direct mail, but it also still incorporates the human touch? The human touch is the most important piece here. So, like, let's say that I take one of my note cards and I write somebody a handwritten note from myself, like thanking them for their time, right? So I put a little message in here, and then I get on screen and shoot a video of me saying, hey, I wrote you this handwritten note, and I pause the video, like, or tell them to pause the video or write over the note if they want to read it, and just say, thanks so much for your time. I really appreciate you. Just wanted to express that gratitude. No, hey, our next steps were this, or agendistic per se in those moments, but instead connecting with people, impacting people, showing them that you believe that they matter, and ultimately that you'll put the time and effort in to go above and beyond, be a differentiation, and achieve what it is that they're looking for. So it doesn't always have to be direct mail, right? You can get creative with things like a handwritten note and send it digitally just the same. It's all about, again, ultimately getting yourself to a place that's desirable in regards to the way that the prospect views you. So remember, they're just a human, a regular person, someone that feels, someone that farts, as Beth likes to say, someone that is just living a normal everyday life. And sometimes they're not so normal and everyday or average as well too. I want y'all to think about that. In some cases, like, they need this more than most of you realize or recognize, because they haven't had any kind of consistent down to earth conversations in the first place. They haven't had a salesperson show up and give a human experience to them. And because of that, you're allowing them to have something that they typically don't have in the first place. Another piece of the puzzle around this ecosystem and this follow-up concept of, instead of sending a bump email, we like to use this identity of taking the conversation that has been had and continuing it, and then also rephrasing what you've said before in a new email. So this is a simple, super simple one for everybody to understand that everybody can do. So let's say you send an email that typically the following email would be thoughts, or, whatever the case would be behind it, right? Like, if you were to send that email, instead of sending the thoughts email or the did you get my last email or just checking in, if instead you took that original email and you rewrote it and you changed it up just a little bit, like let's say that it is, hey Beth, great chatting with you today on our discovery call next Tuesday at 2:30 works great for me. Send me over confirmation and I'll shoot the calendar invite out. 2 days go by, you don't hear anything. There's no need to send a thoughts email. There's no need to send an email after that and say just checking in on my last email. Instead, you can literally just say, hey Beth, I have Tuesday available next week at 2:30. If that's still good on your calendar, let me know and I'll shoot over the calendar invite. You can send that email 4 times and you'll probably have a better outcome at the end of the day than sending the bump email or the just checking in email. This is a basic version of the concepts that we teach, but you got to start somewhere sometimes. And some of y'all might be afraid to do the stuff that we're about to talk about. I ain't calling you out or anything, or maybe I am, but that's one way. Rephrasing what people have said as well too. So if somebody says, I'm really busy for the next couple of weeks, but let's get something on the calendar. If we rephrase the language that these people are using, busy, if we create narratives around what it is to be busy, if we do things like, hey, I know you're busy, so I made you this checklist to make sure that you stay in motion with your daily habits, because you might get too busy and get out of it. And like on your checklist is like, don't forget to poop, like in the morning after your coffee or something like that. Like it's a way to humanize the approach and ultimately, again, to just like be something different to these people. And again, like I said, a lot of y'all are probably scared to do this kind of stuff. It freaking works phenomenally, or we wouldn't be a company that's been around for 5 years if it didn't. Let's just say that. Either that or like we've got the weirdest client base in the world with the weirdest customers in the world. I mean, that could be a coincidence, y'all. It could happen that way, but that would be luck. We don't believe in luck around here. The other side of it is a lot of the times when we do things like recap or highlight in our follow-ups, we do it cheaply. And what I mean by that is that we share something like a document. And look, like to all my friends and rebels out there, that even the ones that are ultimately that are okay with sending something like a white paper, I just want to challenge you, like the thought process being, if I'm sending a white paper, like is somebody else going to read it? Like ask yourself, like, are you going to read a white paper? Like that's probably not going to be the truth or the fact, right? Like you're probably not going to do that. Speaking of my internet, I was going to share this on screen, but I'm not. Instead, all of y'all can click that link that I just popped into the chat. I'm going to pen this one now. This is a great example. You want to do it, bro? Pop it, dude. Go.
Yeah, I can share it. My internet seems to be okay. I have that good internet over here. All right, hold on. Let me pull it up while you finish your thought.
Cool. Let's give this thought, actually. Like Adam Peak, first off, don't talk smack about my internet. Secondly, y'all don't even know. I live here. You ready for this? Just wait. Oh, none of y'all even understand. Like the fact that I have internet in the first place is like a modern miracle. So you guys,
it is true. He's like on the Tennessee Mount. He's like on the Tennessee Mount Everest or something like that. So you got to give him a break on that side. I will say, actually, you know what? I'm going to go full screen on this thing. I was going to tell people like the recommendations might be a little bit weird because my kids are the only ones that watch YouTube in my house. So. All right, hold on. Okay.
They have incognito windows for those things.
See if we can do this here. All right, can everybody see that? Well, I guess Dale and Beth, you guys have to tell me if it's working.
Yeah,
yes, it's working.
Good. Okay, all right, I'm hitting play.
Oh God.
Hi, my name's Dale DeFree with North American Office Solutions. We're a full-service copier dealership for Canon, Konica Minolta, and HP products. We also specialize in IT services. Whether someone caught the copy machine on fire or an end user just needs a little more training on how to make a copy, I have the solution for you. Paper jam. This is Dale. Listen, hang up the phone, call 911. I'm overnighting the parts now and heading to your office. Never heard of me? That's why my clients call me the best kept secret in office equipment.
The kick at the end.
Oh, good times. The kick is so good. Like we actually, that's like a all glass door. So there's like a person on the other side of the door opening it right at the same time that I kick. It took us like 10 tries.
I was going to say it had to have been something because I was expecting it to like shatter or
something. Yo, Craig, the song is Darkest Hour, which is a metal band that, so for any of you that know, the Copier Warrior used to tour in a heavy metal band called Imperial. So I played with a band called Darkest Hour once upon a time and was like, this band's awesome. And I hit him up and asked him if I could use that song in the video. So probably not the right way to do it, but they said yes. That's all that matters. So the purpose of showing y'all that video is to say that most of you are afraid. Once again, like most of you are scared. This is like my tactic. I'm just going to like use reverse psychology here for the rest of our time together. Nobody does things like this. So imagine that I have a first meeting and I tell somebody, hey, wanted to get to know you a little bit better. So I wanted to show you a little bit more about my company. And this is the literal video that I send to people. So this is something that I did consistently, constantly. And that video got me more attention than you can imagine, right? So we tend to put ourselves in a box. Rebels break through that box. Rebels don't believe in that business box at all, period. Instead, we believe in this identity of human interaction above everything else, people above products, community above commission checks. Because of these principles that we follow, we narrate better outcomes for ourselves. That's the teaching, ladies and gentlemen. But now for the next several minutes, we're going to do a couple things. First off, we're going to get the rated R version of what we like to call Jeremiah's stuff. And no, you weirdos, it's not like that. It's going to be all the stuff that Jeremiah constantly encounters as a coach, as a trainer, and as a salesperson inside of our organization, from things that he has done in regards to follow-up that is extremely unique and beneficial for all of you to see today, all the way down to some of our students and their follow-up methodology as well, so you can see the literal things that we do. Jeremiah, it's all yours. And I'm sure Adam Peak is really excited that I'm going to stop talking and not have to worry about my internet.
Yeah, it's rated R for rebellious. R stands for rebellious people. It's not restricted or anything like that. All right. So, so as far as follow-up goes, I was kidding in the beginning whenever I said I was the best rebel student ever. That title probably goes to like Derek Nave or Kirk Robeson or something. They make like $1 billion a year in commissions or something. But I do have some pretty good follow-up emails. They just have to like send pictures of their face, and they're so beautiful that I think people just sign up after they see their faces. So I can't do that. So I've got to have some good follow-up at the ready. So I'm just going to share some examples with you guys. But what I'll say first, as far as like the pattern interrupt side of it goes, that's like constantly what is on my mind. So what do people expect? And so one of the things that I do as a coach inside the Rebellion is do what's called an execution call every week for students in our squadrons. And we talk about this quite a bit. So like, what is the person that you're seeking to serve? What are they expecting? And so when they respond with, this is not really of interest to me or something like that, they expect the salesperson to come back in an email or the conversation and say, oh, okay, well, that's cool, but, and then try to just use their own agenda to drive them into, accepting a meeting or whatever the sales rep wants to accomplish. So as far as, my follow-up goes, I'm really a huge fan of using someone's own words that they've said in the conversation to follow up on that. So whether it's a follow up in an email or follow up in a direct mail piece or something of that nature, then that's really what I like to do. Because if I can use their own words, they may not remember exactly saying that, but if I can use them, like chances are they probably will remember it. and they'll get a laugh out of that because it's something that they probably say often, right? If someone says this isn't in the cards, or I don't know, if they use lots of cliches in general, they'll remember. It will take them back to that conversation. It's just it's more relatable, and it kind of brings it full circle for them. So to just show you guys some examples here that have worked. I don't always have like the replies of people up here, but oh, you know what? I gotta hit share screen first, don't I? All right, let me do that so you guys can actually see what I'm talking about. All right, and give me not a thumbs up because I can't see any thumbs right now, but give me a hey, we can see that, and
gotcha. We see it.
Or what?
You can zoom in on it for sure. It's definitely hard to see.
Okay, let me zoom. Is this like better?
This is like some people could see it, but like your mom would be yelling at you right now.
Really? Ah, this is horrible. Okay, then.
This is better. This is really good. This is like fantastic. This is absolutely beautiful.
This is perfect right here. Okay. All right. So I'm going to have to use this bar and go back a little bit, go back and forth. But so you can see like this first example is something that I just said. So someone whether it's in a conversation that I have a recording of or a prior email or something like that. So this is really short and sweet. And it includes some context of what we talked about before in our conversation, like what is your average deal and stuff. So, and then the ROI that he could expect, that was of course a common conversation that we had. So kind of tack that onto the end. But here really is just it's something that he had said. I probably should have taken his name out. One of our rebels that's in the call is going to recognize the name. So, but that's okay because he likes them. So it's all good. But basically just used his words at the end of that call, like, hey, I'm gonna let you know if we're moving forward here. And so when I didn't hear back from him, I just used that part of the call, his exact words, and just quoted him word for word, put the date and time in there, and then just added the context here. And you can see he's got a reply here. Like he hadn't done anything yet, but it got a reply. He didn't end up joining, but that person that I just mentioned is now a student. So again, it's memorable. So this next example here is one where we eventually got the business. We eventually closed this, but I had sent a proposal and there hadn't really been a response. It wasn't like full ghosting. I had sent 5 messages or something like that, no response. But it had been a couple. And so we were up on a timeline, like they had said, this is when we want to get it done by. And so I just sent this short and sweet message with this GIF, which is another thing that I do. I use a lot of GIFs or GIFs, I guess, whatever you call them. There's still a controversy over that, I think, in the world. But just very short and sweet, just, trying to get back on their radar and see if it was just, not a fit, not what they thought about. So, and you can see, of course, I just changed this to be like a template, and that's why it says prospect company. But this is just another example of something short and sweet and using something that is just a little bit, tad bit rebellious to get back in their mind there. This person right here. So my timeline of events email, it kind of is using their own words a little bit. It's in that same vein, I feel like. We just had a rebel actually use this. He put it in the Slack and gave us the example of what he did. And I don't know if it's because he saw this before, or if he's just also a genius and thought of it himself and did it. But he also got a response back. This person right here is now a current student. So again, it did progress things forward, but basically just the timeline of events of what has happened so far. And since we don't have, a next step, we've been, ghosted. I think it's that slightly, yeah. So not anything crazy, but again, a few messages without a response or something. And so I sent this on LinkedIn, and then, like I said, he ended up becoming a student. So that's how we moved that one along. So again, just the pattern interrupt type of things to think of, like, what is the experience that they usually get? They usually get the just checking in email. They usually get the wanted to bump this to the top of your inbox, the thoughts, all that stuff that Dale mentioned before. And so I want to go way outside of that and have some fun with this. You know, this is fun for me, and it ends up most of the time being fun for them as well. And then moving down here. So another thing that I've done and really like to do, it does take a little bit more time, so I don't do it all the time, but is do some gifts of myself. And this is very personalized to the situation. So this first one that you can see on the left, that's got me reading the book. It says How to Sell Sales Coaching to a Sales Coach. So this person was formerly a sales coach, I think is what it was. And so in our next steps, you know, this is, we were coming up on another meeting. And so this is the GIF I sent beforehand with the agenda. You know, some of those things just to make sure that we're going to, you know, keep the meeting and kind of keep the rebellious process going. And so that the experience, it's not just one thing like on the first touch, you know, that's a rebellious experience and everything else is the same as, you know, as everybody else does it. That's not what I want to be like. And so I'll send things like that. This other one on the right, the prospect or the person that I was, that we were looking to serve was one of them was a avid CrossFitter. And so whenever we were going into like proposal time, there was a little bit of a lull. There had been some non-responses. We were kind of slowing down in the process. And so I sent this GIF of me doing pull-ups because that's a huge thing in the CrossFit world besides throwing logs and whatever else they do. You'll know within like 5 minutes of meeting a CrossFitter though, all the things that they do. So pull-ups I know is one of them. And so that's why I did that. But these are pretty easy to make. You basically just set up a video camera of whatever you're doing and the video camera, that's old, right? Set up your phone, whatever you're using to take video and take a quick video of yourself, you know, 3 to I think 6 seconds maybe. So I did 2 pull-ups, 3 pull-ups maybe. Yeah, before it resets or something, maybe, I don't know. I did 90 pull-ups, let's just say that. So, but you just take a really quick video of yourself and then you put it into the GIF software, and it's free. Like there's plenty of free software tools out there that you can use, and it'll spit out a GIF for you. You can put in your text and away you go. So it does take a little bit longer than obviously just like typing up a quick email or something, but it does get a lot of really good responses and results. And then some other ones that I've used where I've just kind of put different text on the, you know, on the bottom. I think this was actually made for someone that was prospecting bike shops. And so we did use the bike GIF. So again, just to be relatable on that side. This is specific to someone who had written and they were an inbound lead, I believe, and said that they wanted to be the Michael Jordan of sales. And then either didn't show up to the meeting, or I think they didn't show up to the meeting is what it was. And so this was my follow-up to that. So the famous Michael Jordan shrugging picture, and then that message to him. So he did eventually reschedule as well. This is a funny one that I just like to send out to people that inbound to us at the Rebellion. You know, the inbound is usually the same type of thing where they fill out a form on the website and then they go to a calendar link and schedule. But so this is just one that I made up with the Dos Equis guy that I think is fun. So again, like some of this is just fun for me. It doesn't always hit for the people, but you know, but a lot of times it does. So, you know, we're not trying to be everything to everybody, because not everybody is going to get my humor. Not everybody is going to enjoy what I send. Some people will be offended. I have offended people for sure, but this is, you know, this is just an example of me having some fun with that. This is another one, the Pursuit of Happiness meme, where where he's talking to his kids about like possibly, you know, like if someone's telling you, yeah, this could work, you know, this might possibly work for us. And so, but there, you know, that cute scene in the movie where he says, I know what possibly means. It means we're not going to the game. So I just changed this, going to the game. I just changed it to, you know, signing up for the Rebellion or something like that. So it would be just personalized to whatever you're selling as well. And so it's it's a little bit like relieving the pressure for someone. It's like, hey, I don't really need this because I don't need the deal. There's no fear involved with this stuff, and that's why I have fun with it, because I do take the approach of, I'm completely detached from it. So if I do offend someone, I can come back and apologize if I feel that's necessary. It is necessary when you offend someone, right? But I'm completely detached, and it also relieves the pressure on their side too. They can tell that I don't really need it, so they don't feel pressured from my side, and so it just relieves any tension in the conversation, especially if there has been some ghosting and stuff. So I think that's some of the stuff that sales reps don't think about a lot, is like, if I do detach and I send someone something that spells that out in a GIF or the text or whatever it is, then it relieves the pressure and the tension, and it allows that person some space to actually respond, with a good real response, rather than just ignoring it or saying like, I can't deal with this now. Call me in 6 months. So this is one where, like, maybe we sent a few emails in the thread. I just like to send this one in there of the lady dancing, and like, you're probably not reading this thread anyway. So I do send Captain Planet a lot. The power is yours. The ball is in your court, whatever, because he's pointing right at him. And so you can almost use any kind of thing that you want with Captain Planet. So of course, my thinking around this is, I'm trying to relate to the folks that I'm reaching out to, which are usually people around my age or older. And so these things, they're very relatable to them. We grew up with Captain Planet. We grew up watching Michael Jordan. We've all probably seen The Pursuit of Happiness, or the Dos Equis meme is a familiar one to us. And so, all of that stuff. And so, so those are the examples that I've got. More on the digital side, with emails and things like that. So hopefully that helps some of you guys. Dale, anything to add to that before I show some other things?
It's beautiful. It's beautiful. Go ahead. You can move on. I think you freaking crushed it. I don't think anybody has any questions. And if they do, they're probably bad. So we're going to skip it.
Cool. All right. So going into the direct mail follow-up. So Dale mentioned that we use a lot of direct mail in the Rebellion. And it's, of course, when we send a first touch piece, when we're trying to get attention, that's a big part of it. But also on follow-up. So we do a lot of direct mail based on follow-up. And so that is another one where I like to use people's specific words. And so we've had a lot of students do this as well. I was just talking to someone yesterday where they said that so they sell, they're a Salesforce rep. And so someone says, yeah, Salesforce just isn't in the cards for us this quarter. And so the follow-up touch is to send them a deck of cards and make a little Salesforce card in there and put it in there and say, hey, I know that you said Salesforce wasn't in the cards. So I sent you a deck for next quarter or next year, whatever the timeline was. And I put a Salesforce card in there so we can save, you can save this deck and we'll be in the cards for, again, the next quarter, whatever the timeline was. And so again, just using their words. There's been Rebels, Caleb, right? Caleb out in Texas, he does the shovels a lot, right? Am I remembering that right, Dale? Caleb is the one that does the shovels?
I believe it's Caleb. I think Jason's done it too, but I'm pretty sure Caleb's done the shovels many times.
So yeah, so along those lines, people will say, "Man, I'm buried under a bunch of stuff," and so Caleb and Jason and whoever else that does it will send them a little mini shovel or drop it off in person and say, "Hey, I hope this helps you. I know you said you were buried, so I hope this helps you dig out from all the work that you're buried under." Something along those lines, and it gets a great response from a bunch of people. So using people's own words, again, even if they don't specifically remember using them, we can take them back to that, and they'll realize, oh yeah, I do say stuff like that. I remember when I said that, and get a chuckle out of it. So, but here's some examples of direct mail follow-up things. So ghosting is a common occurrence. You know, we've got people that are interested. Then
your screen's not changing, bro.
Yeah, I haven't changed it yet.
Did you catch me? Okay, just making sure, because you're sitting here saying that, you know, look at my screen, guys.
Sorry,
you don't have anything. Go ahead, please continue. My fault. I hope I didn't offend you. Please continue.
I don't get offended.
You suck.
I offend. I don't get offended. But so I was setting it up though. So ghosting is a common occurrence. We get people all the time that say, I've got people that didn't show up, or that said they were interested, or we sent them a proposal, we sent them an agreement, and then they just won't respond to anything like that. So I don't want to send just checking in. So what do I do? So this is a good example. And this is actually one that has been sent digitally as well. So you can do this digitally, and it has worked. I remember another great rebel, Larry Madden. I know he sent more than one, but the first time he used it, he sent it through email, and he was like, "Oh, thanks, man. I got a response in 7 minutes." And so the missing persons poster does work quite well. This is simply a Canva template. If any of you guys haven't used Canva, not quite as good of a tool as Pipedrive, but still a good tool. But Canva, this is just a Canva template in there. And so you can use this, and it's simply just like, this one says missing rule of the world, but I always just use their title, you know, missing sales director or something, you know, and help us find whatever their first name is. The description is usually something that is complimentary toward them. And so that's what we use there. Have their picture from LinkedIn, have a reward, you know, just like funny stuff. You know, in the middle is more related to our thing. The other things are just kind of funny. Last seen in a Zoom meeting or whatever, if you're local, it could be in person. And then this is usually related to something that we've discussed or maybe that I've sent. And so in this case, they had gotten a cutting board from me. And so that's what that is related to. And so, and then if you know the whereabouts, please call us or please call you. And then you can send this by direct mail. You can send it email. There's a couple different ways to do that, but that's the missing persons poster. So that's a really good direct mail touch. I've already kind of given you a couple others. We're running up on time though, Dale. So I don't want to like spend more time talking about stuff if you've got to get into other things. What should we do here?
This is good. Let's give Jeremiah a freaking huge round of applause. Ladies and gentlemen, let's see the emojis flying. The greatest reactions you've ever seen in your life. Let's go, Jeremiah. Yay. I know you can't feel it, Jeremiah, but everyone's screaming and yelling right now and so excited about all of this, I promise. That was fantastic, dude. Appreciate you taking us through that. We want to give somebody a chance to come up on live. So do we have any questions in here? No Q&A. So somebody throw up a question in the Q&A. Actually, screw that. Whoever wants on screen right now, just drop a comment and say, I want on screen. I have a particular scenario where I need help. While we get to that, I want to show you guys something that we don't show people often. This is like straight up, unless you're a one-on-one student, you've probably never seen this. We call this the Rebel Calendar. Jeremiah was specifically talking about the effect of using people's words. So somebody says something to you along the lines of, things are a mess at the moment. Give me a month. I'm underwater right now. Call me back in 2 weeks. Like Jeremiah said, your product isn't in the cards. Somebody says something like, my schedule's full. I'm super busy. This is the Rebel Calendar. Send someone this. And you can do this from January to December. We have had Rebels do this. It's so much fun. So basically you go through you make them a custom calendar. You can use images as well too. This is a very basic version, but you can just basically send them with a note that said like, hey, I know your schedule is super full. Your calendar is really busy. So I sent you mine for the next 12 months. And feel free to pick a day that I've circled in red that might work for you and have a lot of fun with it. Like tell people things like, I don't do Friday meetings on your calendar. And then, make it silly and, say stuff like, I'll cancel on you if you choose this date, or I'm going to be doing hot yoga that day, or I just don't feel like it, or I've got like a food-a-thon that I'm doing, or like give people an experience. So we've seen people take a screenshot, Scott. Hurry. Oh! it's gone. It's gone. It's gone. Sorry, Scott. So, so we actually have had Rebels send that again digitally and tangibly, like in the mail. So you can do either one, and they work beautifully to do either one. So who do we got over here that wants up? Oh my gosh, there's so much. But Tim Yoakum raised his hand. No one else raised their hand. This man's coming on screen.
How'd he do that?
I don't know.
Dude,
Oh,
let's
he
go.
did it.
I'm so sorry. I don't have a camera.
Eddie speaks.
Oh, he doesn't have a camera. Kick him off. Kick him off.
See ya.
Damn it.
That's okay. It's okay. We can all imagine what Tim looks like. Okay.
Thank you, guys.
What's up, dude? Give us a scenario that you're going through right now that we can help you out with.
I do roofing sales. I live in Minnesota, so there's snow all over the ground right now, so I can't sell anything. But I am working with a lot of insurance agents, and I'm trying to work my way into their offices. So I'm trying to think up fun ways to get to the point where I can present to the agent, because usually I'm with the front desk lady for like 10 minutes, and they're like, well, I'll give your letter to the agent. And so I'm wondering, what are some fun things like life vests or shovels or what?
Jeremiah, you want to take this? I mean, I would go as simple as just doing the Rebel Letter campaign to start, because it's very inexpensive and a good starting point. Do you know about the crumpled letter, Tim?
I've seen it on LinkedIn. I haven't looked too deep into it, though.
Oh, okay. So what was the letter that you were talking about?
So I just wrote up a letter saying how I can help, and then I just go and hand deliver it and say, hey, this is who I am. This is the company I work with, or right down the street or whatever.
Gotcha. Okay. So that letter is not getting a whole lot of traction.
Not really. I mean, I've gotten a couple people that send me deals, which is nice. I've gotten like 3 by just going in and being myself and just talking with them. And I think they appreciate like the in-person kind of stuff. But I kind of want to take it to the next level, because there's a lot of offices where it's just like, okay, thanks. And
Cool.
you don't really ever hear from them.
Yeah, I've got a crumpled letter for a roofer that I actually wrote it for him.
Okay.
And he uses it a lot, and it works really well. So I mean, like, the crumpled letter is great if you're walking into places,
Okay.
handing it to them. You can give it to them with inside of a little trash can. Little trash cans all over. You can get them on Amazon for real cheap. You can get them at the dollar store, like the little wheeled. They're called pencil holders, I think. But they look like the wheeled dumpster version. They're like $1.25 each, and so that's another way you can deliver it as well.
Okay.
So yeah, crumpled letter them for sure, and it's cheap and easy.
Yeah.
Outside of that, dude, what I would tell you that we've seen some Rebels have success with is, so a lot of the time with insurance companies, especially in like the relationships you have, like you have to build a pretty tight relationship. You don't want to make it look like you're bribing them either. So the thought would be, don't take them a lunch is kind of like something that we teach our Rebels a principle on. Like, don't take them a lunch and just think that somehow that's magically going to create a good relationship. But you could get like a big catering set put together with a bunch of boxes, like Panera, the whole 9 yards, and inside of every box is nothing. Like they're all empty, and there's a message with it that says, hey, I don't want you to think I'm bribing you for lunch, so I ate all this in the parking lot before I brought it in, and now I got to go hit the gym. But if you want to get together, get to know each other, and eventually break bread and have lunch at some point to learn about each other's businesses, holler at your boy. So there's lots of little things that you can do here. But honestly, we've seen a lot of the roofing students that have come through our system have a lot of success with the crumpled letter. And so if you want to hit us up individually, we'll introduce you to those people to run some ideas by, and then ultimately we'll give you access to the resource that we have from the crumpled letter side of things.
Awesome. Should I DM you on LinkedIn, or how should I get in contact?
This is the part where you show us how rebellious you are, just like you raised your hand and got on stage.
Okay. Well, look forward to hearing from me.
Come find us, man. Come find us.
All
we'll
right.
be waiting.
If I show up at your front door, don't get mad at me.
Just have a crumpled letter in hand.
He's sick, dude. I dare.
Godspeed with
And
that.
if you can find
Dale's
Dale's,
letter, but I also
Yeah.
I dare you to find
Dale's front door,
it.
yeah, good luck finding Dale's front door. You might get eaten by a bear first.
Okay, thanks, guys. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, man. Good to meet you, bro. Be in touch. Adam Peak. Adam
Hey,
Peak,
guys.
calling Adam Peak. There he is.
Coming in hot with the hat game.
Yeah, we use
He's
emojis.
coming in, Beth.
Beth, this was for you. It's
Thank
why
you,
I didn't
my
want to
love.
be on camera because I don't know how to tell who's the last guy, but I've heard the Sales Rebellion does not work for roofing companies. Everybody else is good, but you're no, I'm just kidding. I'm just joking. I'm just joking. So here's my question. I'll try to keep it quick because I know we're at time. For sales leaders on the call, how do we deal with the creativity and kind of the overflow of creativity with like a structured outreach plan in a CRM? Because I know that's something that I struggle with. Like I'm just like a wake up and do crap kind of person. And I struggle with like detailed, methodical outreach. So how do we, what's some advice for us in that?
Yeah, great question. It also it helps us to promote our sponsor. And we didn't pay Adam to ask this question, ladies.
I
and
might have
gentlemen.
teed
This
it
is
up
a
for you,
normal question,
Dale.
right?
You just
You sure did. You sure as hell just did. So I just dropped the link for anybody that's in the chat or in the live channel right now. In the chat, you can actually click this affiliate link. It's 20% off to try Pipedrive out or just deploy it across your team. I truly believe, Adam, that you have to have the right CRM in place that will allow you to create the sequences to build out the consistency. So like, as an example, though, we're talking in some instances, it's not going to be consistent in some of the things that we're saying, but there's still ways to build the sequence. So like, you can't in the sequence rely or depend on somebody saying something like, I'm underwater, and just hope that it falls like within the sequence is the thought process, right? So some of those things are not controllable at all. But what we can control, as an example, is if we do a 60-day follow-up methodology. As an example, like let's say we convert on, because your team has done the crumpled letter. So let's say that Lee converts on the second letter and he sets an appointment. What we do inside of our CRM is we set it for like the next 90 days of the sales cycle. We say here are the 10 things that at some point during the cycle that we need you to do. One of those things being like write a handwritten note. One of those things being learn something very personal about this individual or understand their vertical a little bit better so that you can do something very familiar or that will feel personalized to them. So we can still build those things out just in a little bit of an abstract way. We shouldn't fear abstract, but ultimately at the same time, by like using something like Pipedrive, we can queue those things up and be able, as leaders, be able to have accountability and access to what it is that our people are doing, and how we're leading them from that perspective. Hopefully that helps answer the question.
Super helpful. And right in the middle of it, my one wife and 5 kids all walked in to the same room I was in. So I was like, mute. Hey, everybody. The one time I'm on camera with the legendary Dale-licious Dale Dupree, and your internet was fantastic. It was the
I'm sure it was. I've not seen my internet go to red so many times in one sit-in. So that's
it was a lot. Yeah, it was a lot.
No, thank you, Dale. It was great. And to Beth and Jeremiah is awesome.
Thanks, Adam. We appreciate you, bro. Tell your family that we said hi and that we love them.
Look,
Ladies and gentlemen.
And your one wife.
Yeah, your one wife. Right. Well, he's in. I'm
not going to. Don't say it.
Don't say it. Don't say it. Don't say it. Okay, don't say it. There's definitely an inside joke here. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, we are so grateful to each and every one of you for spending time with us. Thanks for the extra 5 minutes of your time as well, too. Obviously, we're happy to give it. We love you. We appreciate you. Please check out Pipedrive. Thank you so much to our sponsors at Pipedrive for allowing us to come together, spend time in fellowship, talk a little bit more about how we can be better as rebels in the way that we follow up instead of being the stale and boring, monotonous sales reps that are constantly plaguing everyday life inside of our industry. Let's step out from those shackles. Let's be different. Let's engage people more effectively. Let's cause curiosity. Let's be exactly what these folks have been looking for. Shout out to Molly. She is the winner of our game today. Molly Welch Gold. Look at her crushing it. Adam Peak in second. Tim, our new friend Tim, is in third. Look at him coming in and participating. Good stuff. Ladies and gentlemen, once again, we appreciate you. Make sure that you check out Pipedrive. Make sure that you jump into our free Rebel Slack community. Make sure that you stay in touch with us. Thank you for the highly active webinar with us today. I've never seen this much activity inside of the chat. So we love you. We appreciate you. And we'll see you at the next Rebel Hangout. By the way, real quick, easy plug for me. We brought back the Rebel Hideaway. It's a live session that we do strictly out of our Slack community as of right now. Join the Slack community. Make sure you get signed up for the Rebel Hideaway. Every third Friday of the month, we're getting together. We're talking sales. We're having fun. We're being human. We love you. We appreciate you. Thanks for coming out.
Peace, guys.